All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, folks, for joining this morning. I'm Greg Hirschberger, Managing Director of Health and Benefits at Greenwald Research. I'm joined by Lisa Wyszynski. She's a Senior Associate here. And today we're going to have a little coffee break and talk about the eBree and Greenwald Research Workplace Wellness Survey. So this is a survey that was completed, that fielded last August, and in partnership with Greenwald and eBree. This is a survey that has been, this year was our fifth iteration, and we have, had different iterations of this survey prior to that first year. So it's been around in some form since really the late 90s. And the purpose of the survey is essentially in the name, to track employees' wellness at work. And that wellness can be defined in a number of ways. We look at financial wellness, we look at physical wellness, mental well-being, and workplace wellness, things like workplace balance, and how folks interact with their employer and their coworkers. A little bit of background on methodology. We interviewed 1,500 American full-time and part-time workers aged 21 to 24, a national sample of about 1,000 workers, and we had an oversample of 500 surveys among veteran workers. Those veterans were weighted down to their what we see in the actual workplace, so they aren't actually making up a third of our sample. These were 20-minute online interviews. Again, it was conducted in late summer. So 20 minutes, it's a long survey. So we have a lot of pieces that we can choose from to talk about. And so today we chose a handful of things from a variety of different topic areas. So we're going to jump around a little bit, but we think that these results are pretty interesting. Some new questions that we added this year, as well as a little bit of trend where we saw some changes. So we'll go ahead and dive in, start with well-being and current concerns that workers have. So concern around well-being is trending down over the past handful of years. We did start asking these questions in 2021, so right in the middle of the pandemic. And as you can see, the average level of concern for emotional and mental well-being is down, and this is on a 10-point scale, down from 6.2 to 5.5 from 2022 to 2024. But still 40% have at least, a moderate concern around their emotional well-being and mental health. In these other areas, financial well-being, physical well-being, and workplace well-being are also seeing a slight trend downward, at least directionally, not statistically significant. So we see this, as we come out of the pandemic. They were pretty high back in 2021, 2022, and have been, on the downslope. So we asked which financial issues are personally causing people the most stress. And they remain the same as what we've seen in prior years. Topping the list are saving for retirement, having savings in case of an emergency, and paying monthly bills. Concern around job security has dropped from 2023, down from 31% to 25%. And you'll see a few other areas where concern has dipped. But these are areas that are, less relevant for a lot of people in the population. So financially supporting a loved one, paying for childcare, or paying for caregiving services for an adult, things that are going to impact fewer people, but we do see that the concern has lowered. And when it comes to bills specifically that cause the most stress, again, continuing to top the list, we have mortgage and rent, groceries, household utilities, and credit card debt. Lower on the list, you have, again, things that aren't going to be relevant to everyone, like childcare and pet care and elder care. But these are really, core aspects to cost of living. and necessities really around housing, around food, and around utilities. Moving on to debt, about a third say that their current level of debt is a major problem. 3/4 say it's at least a minor problem. And of those who say that debt is at least a minor problem, again, credit card debt is cited as a problem by 8 in 10, which is the largest area of debt that's considered to be a problem. So this credit card piece is popping up again. But then slightly behind credit card debt, about half report personal loan or medical debt as issues. And lower concern areas of debt are, student loans, payday loans. But again, credit card debt, a big driver of this level of debt that 75% say is a problem. So we did a deeper dive this year into credit card debt, because I think a lot of people, whenever they hear about credit card debt, they think about spending that may be frivolous, that may not be needed. But we found that 3/4 have some credit card debt, a median amount of $6,000. And of those who say it's a problem, the sources of debt aren't really discretionary spending. 52% say paying for groceries contributed to that debt. 49% say vehicle expenses, and 36% say household utilities. So these are, again, necessities that are driving that credit card debt, rather than frivolous or discretionary spending. There are some discretionary items on this list, like eating out or ordering in. That's 29% say that's driving their problematic credit card debt. Vacations, 28%, and entertainment. I'll turn it over to Lisa to talk a little bit about employer efforts.
That's great. So Greg went over some well-being issues. So we wanted to know, how is the workplace affecting this, and how do people feel about their employers' efforts? So perhaps not surprisingly, given what Greg just discussed, satisfaction with their current job is on par with 2023. Over half are extremely or very satisfied with their current job. And people who tend to be especially so are men, those who are married or have a partner, and those who make over 75K. So those with the highest incomes. Employees in general rate their employers' efforts to improve well-being highly. 7 in 10 rate their employers' efforts to help improve workplace well-being as at least good. And again, men and those making more money are more likely to rate their employers highly in this, and in all 4 of these. So we know employees recognize their employers' efforts to improve workplace well-being, but what contributes to that sense? The biggest contributor is work-life balance. You can see 56% have cited that. Almost half say meaningful work or work you enjoy is a contributor. And as women and those with lower incomes are more likely to say meaningful work or work you enjoy. And then about a third each say a supportive supervisor, the amount of PTO offered, and personal connections with their colleagues. Overall satisfaction with the benefits package remains on par with 2023. It's pretty decent. About 80% say that they are at least somewhat satisfied with their benefits package. And as before, men and those with higher incomes tend to rate their packages more highly. In fact, over half of men are at least very satisfied with their benefits package, compared to only about a third of women. So what would the top improvements be? Perhaps unsurprisingly, the option viewed as the most valuable by far is a greater financial contribution from their employer. About half of those surveyed chose that option. Although interestingly, those with lower incomes are less likely to choose that. A third would like more benefits or resources to help with their financial well-being. And 3 in 10 each would like more flexibility in the benefits they can choose from, and PTO conversion, with Hispanic and Black workers more likely to favor the PTO conversion than their white coworkers. We also asked about a few health benefits topics that are hot right now and tend to be in the media. So top of the list is mental health. It's on everybody's minds right now. So we want to know how our employer offerings in this space. We asked about 3 mental health benefits, and about a third are offered each one, which is in line with what we've seen in past years. And maybe unsurprisingly, workers with higher incomes are more likely to be offered each. Of those who are offered each benefit, about 4 in 10 take advantage, which is in line with previous years as well. And younger workers are more likely to take advantage in general, which is perhaps expected. But of those not offered, at least 2 in 3 are interested in each benefit. Again, younger workers are more likely to express interest. So the interest is clearly there, particularly among younger workers. Another health topic that seems to have been in the news, or at least I've seen it a lot, is weight loss drugs such as Ozempic. So we asked workers about offerings there. Relatively few are offered GLP-1 agonists like Ozempic currently. Higher income workers are more likely to say yes, as you might expect. A large portion do say they're not sure, though. So that's interesting. Almost half do agree that those drugs should be covered by health insurance plans. So that indicates to us that this deserves some exploration by employers. And again, once again, higher income workers are more likely to agree that they would want this to be covered.
And just a reminder that this survey was fielded towards the end of last summer, and ever since then we've just heard continuous noise from folks who are looking for coverage of GLP-1s, and employers know about it. So I wouldn't be surprised if that chart on the left has shifted at this point, and there's the share of employers offering something like that is increasing.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what that'll be like next year.
Yeah.
Or this year, as the case may be. So next we have a few questions that were new this year on leave utilization and how employees are taking advantage of their leave. So we asked how many days of PTO workers are provided each year by their employers. As you can see, the mean offering is about 19 days. About 1 in 10 each say that they get either unlimited PTO or no PTO at all. So we asked those who do not have unlimited PTO how much they use each year of the PTO that they get. Only half say that they use 100% of all of what is allocated to them, that they use up their PTO. Workers only use about an average of 79% of their offered PTO. So a good amount is left on the table each year. When we did ask why those who don't use it all, workers are most likely to say that they like to have a buffer in case of illness or emergencies, or just in case anything arises. So 6 in 10 say that. A third would rather just work, and a quarter feel they don't have the money to truly take advantage of the time offered. So things like going on vacations or just really enjoying their time. Relatively few feel uncomfortable at just asking for the time off, and we'll be covering that in depth more on the next slide. So as we hinted at, 6 in 10, most workers are comfortable asking to take PTO. 6 in 10 are very comfortable, and men and those with lower incomes are particularly comfortable asking. When those not fully comfortable are asked why, the most common response is a worry about understaffing. Workers are also worried about being perceived as slacking or lazy, and this is particularly common among the youngest workers. So I guess there's a worry about not playing into the stereotypes.
This is interesting, Lisa. I think particularly if we go back to the last slide, you're seeing on average 79% of PTO is used each year. And, I think it makes sense that folks like to have a buffer in case of illness or emergencies. But it reminds me of some of the slides that you were talking about earlier about programs like PTO conversion. If you have, an average of 81% or 21% of PTO left on the table at the end of the year, if you roll that over and then end up again only using 79%, well, some employers are looking at different ways of handling that. One being PTO conversion. which can be done, a handful of ways. It can be converted to, a check. It can be converted and put into, a retirement plan, a 401k, a health savings account. There are exchanges where you can trade PTO with your fellow employees. So that's something that, employers have been looking into when you see employees leaving so much PTO on the table for whatever reason that may be. All right, and last piece here. We asked a couple questions about people's preferences around working for the same employer and whether they should or not they should regularly change employers. About half say that they would prefer to work with one employer for less than 10 years. Only a quarter said 21 or more. And as you can see, there are big splits by age group there. So younger workers are especially likely to say that workers should change jobs regularly. And 40% say that they prefer to switch jobs every 5 years compared to only 12% of older workers. It's hard to say if this would hold true for other generations. If we asked this question 50 years ago when boomers were, new to the workforce, would they have said the same thing? Maybe, we don't know, but it is interesting nonetheless, and it has implications for employers who want to retain younger workers. That those workers in the 21 to 34 age bracket are less likely to want to stick around, for longer than 5-10 years. So those are the pieces that we wanted to cover today. But any questions, comments for us on the study from this year?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Were there any results that you found particularly interesting or important?
Go
ahead, Lisa.
So one thing that jumped out to me was that when we asked what the top improvements were for the packages, the benefits packages, lower income workers were less likely to say a greater financial contribution from their employers, which seems strange to me. And so we dove deeper into the results, and we found a higher proportion said none of the above. We did give a none of the above option. So that indicates that perhaps there's something in that list that is missing that we need to dive more into. And I would be really interested in seeing what that might be.
Mm-hmm. And for me, I thought that the PTO stuff was really interesting, that folks are not using all of their PTO. I think the reasoning made sense. Our biggest reason for not using all the PTO is in case there's an emergency. So you kind of want to have a fund or a bank in case something crops up. But then that opens the door for, not utilizing a benefit that you have. And we saw that PTO conversion benefit was something that a lot of people were interested in. So I think that may have a future in making sure that people get value out of their PTO, whether or not it's in the form of actually taking time off. So we didn't talk about it too much or at all in this deck, but as I mentioned up top, we had an oversample of veterans this year. And I thought some of the findings from that were pretty interesting, in that vets generally were in a better position and view their employer in a better light. So they had higher levels of workplace well-being, financial well-being, social well-being, mental well-being, yet they still have the same concerns as non-veteran workers. So things like layoffs, reducing of hours, reducing of wages, they were concerned about things like that, while being a little bit less stressed about paying bills and about their debt. They did tend to be higher income, but they had other concerns. They were more stressed than non-veterans about supporting loved ones, paying for caregiving services, keeping up with their home, as they tended to be homeowners more often. And they were also more loyal to their employer. They planned to stay longer with their employer than non-veterans. So the big takeaway regarding veterans is it seems like you know, they do very, very well in the workplace. Well, thank you everyone for joining. We're currently accepting sponsors for the 2025 survey. That survey will include an oversample of Black workers. Perks of being a sponsor include input into the questionnaire, access to all the data, all the crosstabs, the ability to use the data as you wish in your materials, and opportunities to bounce ideas off of other folks in similar positions and talk about this. It's a fun group to be a part of. So if you're interested in sponsoring, please reach out to me. We'll be kicking off this year's iteration of the survey around May.